Hey, good morning. Let's go over today's trade plan. So as I mentioned at the end of yesterday's recap video, the market was overextended to the downside and we had larger time frame support between 2790 to 2800 where buyers were very likely to be active and the risk reward did not really favor the short side down there. And that's exactly what we've seen play out here in the overnight session where the overnight low is 2799.75. So right around that 2800 level, buyers stepped in and pushed the market back up into 28.5 to 31.5. So in the overnight session, the buy side has been dominant, and now heading into the open, the question is whether that theme is going to continue and result in a bigger bounce back up. On the upside, if we can get a breakout above 28.5 to 31.5, that would serve as a bullish confirmation. And from there, ES could quite easily retest yesterday's high at 36.25 to 37.75 and then head back up into 43.5 to 46.5 where responsive sellers can be active on first test. And if we're continuing to see broad market strength and sustained upside momentum, then even the 53.5 to 56.5 zone would be within the range potential of the day. On the downside, we have pre-market support at 21 to 23.5. It's the more aggressive area of support, and if the buyers are holding ES above it, then it leaves the door open for that breakout attempt beyond 28.5 to 31.5. And then below that, we have the initial support zone at 1575 to 1875, and if the market is going to head higher and try to break out beyond the initial resistance zone, then we want to see buyers holding ES above the initial support zone, and a failure and breakdown below initial support would signal short-term weakness. But considering that the market got overextended to the downside and then put in a pretty decent bounce in the overnight session off of a pretty decent area of support, our intermediate term bias is now going to be neutral. So that's something important to note, that the intermediate term bias has changed from bearish to neutral, and then our short-term bias is going to be neutral bullish. But in order to confirm the buy side really regaining control, we would need to see sustained upside momentum and a breakout above the initial resistance zone. So neutral bullish does not mean that we're aggressively focusing only on the long side. It just means that we're going to be on the lookout for bullish indications in real time. But we do need to see that real-time bullishness in order for the upside scenario to play out. And it also means that we now need to be more cautious and careful with entering short in this market. Because if the real-time situation is not overwhelmingly bearish, then the market doesn't have to put in another big sell-off or another big downside move. And at the very minimum, the market could now stabilize and consolidate and balance within a range. So our short-term bias today is going to be neutral bullish, and the intermediate-term bias is neutral. And then the bigger picture bias is now neutral bearish. So that's how this market is set up right now, where if the buyers can hold ES above initial support or pre-market support, and then we're seeing real-time bullishness, then there would be potential for a breakout above 28.5 to 31.5. But that's the area that needs to be taken out in order to confirm the buyers regaining control. If we get a breakout above initial resistance, then that opens the door for a test of yesterday's RTH high at 36.25 to 37.75, as well as a move up into 43.5 to 46.5 with potential to reach 53.5 to 56.5 if we're seeing continued upward momentum. So that is the market context and plan heading into the open. Let's see if the buy side can maintain the control that we've seen here in the overnight session, and we'll take it from there.